Hello everybody, Mr. Akins here and welcome to What's on the Comic Rack. In this video we're going to talk about 2024 comic collecting goals. Specifically, where am I at in my 2024 comic collecting goals? Am I in a disaster zone or am I riding high on success? Well, I might need to review what my comic collecting goals were. 1. Finish my volume 1 run of Iron Man. Number 2. Start working on a John Byrne collection. Number 3, upload videos onto YouTube on a regular basis. That's an interesting one. And number 4, read more comics. So let's get to looking at those goals. I'm going to do them a little bit out of order. The first thing I'm going to look at is what I've been reading. And of course, we're going to look at it Jimbo style. Captain America number 208, written and drawn by Jack Kirby. Now, this is not the actual comic book my mom bought me back in 1977. Seems like 1977 was a time when I was really cutting comic books up, and this is one of them I cut to absolute pieces. I picked this up for $1 somewhere. This is the first appearance of Arnimzola, however. Kirby does an outstanding job of depicting his robotic body in this issue, and I felt like there was a superb nod to this robotic body in the Winter Soldier movie. Let's also take a look at Kirby's stunning 2-page layout in this issue. Kirby at this time was doing a lot of 2-page layouts, and Cap being attacked by one of Zola's creations is a great one. Next we've got Avengers number 158. Another Jack Kirby cover, interior art by Sal Buscema, written by Jimshooter. Now this is one of the first Avengers comics I ever read. My first introduction to characters such as Vision, Scarletwitch, Yellow Jacket, Wasp, the Beast, and Wonderman. This comic happens to be the first appearance of Graviton. I can see why I liked this comic as a kid because there's a lot of fighting and a lot of action. A fight between Wonderman and Vision, a fight between Avengers and Graviton, great Sal Buscema art, great action panels and art in this issue. Next we've got Iron Man number 97. Did not pick this comic book up as a kid back in 1977, but I do have memories of seeing it on the newsstand. I was convinced that this was another Jack Kirby cover, but it's not. It's a Ron Wilson, Dan Atkins cover. Jerry Conway and Bill Mantlo are on writing duties, and George Tuska did the interior art. This issue ends the Michael O'Brien revenge storyline that had been a subplot for most of the Iron Man issues in 1976. There are a lot of panels in this comic book that were used as recycled art for the official handbook of the Marvel Universe. Next we've got Captain America number 209, another great Jack Kirby cover. My reading plan from this point is to read everything I have from 1976 forward. Now, some of these comics I was able to get as a kid, others I've had to buy later on. I'm also trying to read these comics in chronological order as they came out. Now, this comic came out in week 6 of 1977. Cap is captured by Zola, transported to some unknown location. Sharon Carter is reinstated as a SHIELD agent, which she resigned, I think, back in issue number 153. And we have another great 2-page layout by Jack Kirby. Next, we've got Marvel's Greatest Comics number 70. Now, this reprints the Fantastic Four number 88. This comic was on the rack the same week as Captain America number 209. And it says right here on the cover that this may be the SF's most offbeat adventure ever. And it is a little bit of an odd story with Sue and Reed buying a house that is actually a device that the Mole Man is going to use to blind the entire world in order to help his conquest of it. That, my friends, is a little offbeat. Next we've got Avengers number 159. Gil Kane cover, written by Jimshooter, interior art by Sal Buscema. Now this is the definition of a reader copy. We've actually got extra staples in this comic and some really, really bad water damage. Still a good read with Thor using good old Thor dialogue that I love, like Valor, Knave, and my favorite, braggart. In my opinion, that is how Thor should talk. That is how a true warrior born should express himself. That is what I really enjoyed most about reading this issue. Since this got so much water damage in these extra staples, this is going to be a copy that I plan on upgrading. Next, we've got Iron Man number 98. Bill Mantlo on writing duties, interior art by George Tuska. It wasn't until I started reading these Iron Man issues that I realized how many issues George Tuska actually drew. This issue featured Sunfire and probably my second favorite Iron Man armor, the Neo Classic with the jagged edges on the helmet, making it appear like it's slightly horned. I really love that armor. Once I read Iron Man number 98, I couldn't help myself. I had to go right to Iron Man number 99. Now this is the first of 3 Iron Man comics I distinctly remember my mom buying me on our way to the beach. In fact, there are staple holes right there showing that that's one of the ones my mom bought me going to the beach. Cover by Sal Buscema, written by Bill Mantlo, interiors by George Tuska. The Neo Classic version of Iron Man armor is in full display in this issue. Great fight between Sunfire and Iron Man. Excellent depiction of the Mandrin. Is George Tuska my favorite Iron Man artist? No. But he does a great job for these panels of this issue leading up to issue number 100. One of my favorite covers ever. Now this is one I had to buy later on. I definitely cut this one into absolute pieces. This cover is by Jim Starlin and definitely in my top 10 Iron Man covers of all time. Again, this issue was written by Bill Mantlo and interiors by George Tuska. George Tuska has a distinctive Iron Man style when he draws, and in this comic I really love how he depicts darkness in these panels. Extremely unique. And from this being in my top 10 covers to this one also in my top 10 covers, Iron Man number 101, a beautiful depiction of Iron Man and Frankenstein's monster by Dave Cockrum. This issue would be great to show off on any Halloween special. Interior art again by George Tuska. You have those comics that you're introduced to a character, and then you have those comics when you fall in love with the character. These 3 issues of Iron Man made me fall in love with the character. So why did I love Iron Man as a kid? Was it the cool red and gold armor? Or was it the fact that he was human, smart, resourceful, but flawed? I really think I need to think about that. Maybe do a whole video on why I like certain characters. Next we have Avengers number 160. Now there's 2 reasons this comic book is really important. One, this is actually the first comic book I was ever introduced to the X-Men. There's a panel in this comic book where the Beast is thinking about his former team. Another important aspect of this comic is Georgeperez. Yes, I was exposed to Georgeperez in other comic books like the Fantastic Four, but this is the issue I fell in love with Georgeperez's artwork. The panels and his ability to visually tell a story really spoke to me in this. Jimshooter is apparently one of those writers fans either love or hate. In regards to this issue, some fans really hated how the Beast was portrayed in the Avengers by Jimshooter. I think I'm going to talk about that once I finish Jimshooter's run and talk about how he portrayed a lot of these characters. Next we have Avengers number 161. Written by Jimshooter, incredible art by Georgeperez again. This comic met all my criteria as a kid. Great art and great action. Other concepts began to creep in as well that began to intrigue me, such as heroes that have personal problems, interpersonal relationships, connected backstories, And one of my favorites, subplots. The story starts with Ant-Man, who is Hank Pym, who I discover was actually the original Ant-Man. Because this is the era I began reading Avengers, I've always viewed Hank Pym as the tragic Avenger with deep-seated insecurities and so much untapped potential. You know, that person you graduated high school with that went down a path you just didn't expect they would go down. And next, a really reader copy of Avengers number 162. Definitely one of the books that my mom bought me going down to the beach. In Avengers 161, I was introduced to Ultron and adamantium. 162 continues the story from 161 where Ultron defeats the Avengers. And now the hot take. I have an issue with adamantium. My problem lies in the fact that it is completely and utterly indestructible. My personal opinion, Ultron should be about as powerful or slightly more powerful than Iron Man. You know, this level of threat would be perfect for a certain lineup of Avengers, and Ultron of this power level would create story tension, have epic battles with consequences, and it would move away from his indestructibility to what I really feel makes Ultron a threat, and that's his relentless robotic obsession with the destruction of the Avengers.
It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear, and it absolutely will not stop, ever, until you are dead.
And that, my friends, is what I've been reading. Now I'm going to show you what I've been picking up as far as finishing my Iron Man run and any John Byrne issues. So let's get to looking at those comics.
Iron Man number 74, Gil Kane cover with a very weird looking MODOK there on the cover. That's weird. Iron Man number 58, this is a Rich Butler cover with 10 Rings of Doom, 1 Horn of Destruction, and together they spell double death. Iron Man number 57. Now this is a George Tuska cover. Story by Steve Gerber of Man-Thing fame. And a shirtless mandrin, or Mandy, as Iron Man seems to be calling him. Iron Man number 56 with a Jim Starlin cover. The Fury of Fangor is written by Jim Starlin and Steve Gerber and penciled by Jim Starlin. Iron Man number 53, a Gil Kane cover. Put in the comments below if you think this would classify as a yellow cover. Iron Man number 52, another Gil Kane cover. So would this be a blue cover? I think there were a lot of titles doing this border type cover. I know the Submariner had a lot of issues that were definitely doing this type of cover in the early 70s. Definitely a comic collector geek cover with a woman in red and bondage back there in the back. I'm pretty sure Alan owns this comic. And as you can see, I got all these comics from my comic shop. Next we've got Iron Man number 51, George Tuska cover. Swing Blade, Die Avenger.
It ain't got no gas in it.
That's Swing Blade. Next we've got Iron Man number 50. I really like this Iron Man number 50 cover. This may be my favorite cover from this entire purchase as far as the Iron Man covers. Can Princess Python give Shellhead a fight for his life? Only one way to find out. Gotta read the comic. Next we've got Iron Man number 49, a Gil Kane cover. The Adaptoid is back. How do you fight a guy who combines the power of all the Avengers? Again, you gotta read the comic. Iron Man number 48, another Gil Kane cover. and it looks like Iron Man is taking the Fury of Firebrand right in the face. And those are the Iron Man issues for this order, but not all the comics I got from my comic shop in this purchase. I got 5 more issues, all going toward my John Byrne run. We're going to start off this John Byrne section of my comic shop haul with Action Comics number 827. Now, I had no idea John Byrne did any issues of Action Comics after his run in the 1980s. This comic highlights the gap I have in reading and collecting comics. Late 70s, early 2000s is the time frame I read and collected comics. I do have some comics before 1976 and after 2000, but between 1976 and 2000, that was when I read and bought the most of comics. Therefore, any gaps I have in regards to John Byrne will be before 1976 and after 2000. Next, we've got Action Comics number 828. Now, this run on Action Comics was in 2005, so definitely outside that 76-2000 window. John Byrne does the interior art, and Gail Simone is on writing duties. And I guess that's how you say her name, Simone. If it's not, flood the comments, baby. Put them in there saying, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. That's not how you pronounce her name. I know that this was a time period when if John Byrne got on a comic book, he wasn't going to be on it very long, and this was no exception. Next we have Action Comics number 829, cover by Tony S. Daniel, interiors by John Byrne. How I'm defining my John Byrne collection: is it just cover art? Is it just interior art? Is it story? This collection is going to be anything John Byrne has done, whether it's story, whether it's art, it doesn't matter. It's going to go into collection as part of a John Byrne run. Next, we've got Action Comics number 830, cover by Dan Jurgens. Looking forward to reading these issues and seeing what John Byrne's art looks like on the inside of these comics. I know he was using a lot of experimental techniques, especially on his Namor run in the 1990s. So I'm really curious to see what this looks like on the inside. And final issue, Action Comics number 831, cover by Dan Jurgens. Now, I like Dan Jurgens as an artist, but this is a definite example of the importance of an inker. 831, love this cover. Simple, clean, effective. That's just my opinion. 830, it looks like it's not even by the same artist. In reality, it's not, because it's 2 different inkers. But to me, there is a distinctive difference between this and this. Not so much a fan of this one, much more of a fan of that right there. Now, like I said before, this was the last issue of Action Comics John Byrne worked on. Now, Byrne and Simone, if that's how you pronounce her name, reteamed to launch the all-new Atom series in 2006. Byrne only penciled 3 issues of that run. And this issue completes my latest haul from my comic shop. Now, every month I order something from my comic shop to help me meet my collecting goals. And I always try to keep it around $100. And this haul was just a little over $100 with shipping, so we can check that off as a goal achieved.
My comic shop is not the only place I've been buying comics. I also bought some comics off of eBay. I bought a lot of 10 Uncanny X-Men comics. Now, these comics are all drawn by John Byrne, so they're going to fulfill that goal. So let's take a look at those 10 X-Men comics that I bought off of eBay.
I bought a lot of 10 X-Men comics off of eBay in January, and this will be the first chance I'll have to show these comics off. Starting with the Uncanny X-Men number 129, first appearance of Kitty Pryde, and the first appearance of Emma Frost as the White Queen, cover by John Byrne and Terry Austin. Next we have Uncanny X-Men number 128. Now this cover is actually by Georgeperez and Terry Austin. Chris Claremont, John Byrne's story on the inside. Another 2024 comic goal is to pick up as much John Byrne as I can, whether it's John Byrne story, John Byrne art, or a combination of the two, anything that I don't already own. Next we have Uncanny X-Men number 127, cover by John Byrne and Terry Austin. My friend Ricky,
hey everybody, it's Ricky from All Sorts of Words.
At All Sorts of Words, always wants to know how much did you pay for these comics? Well, the entire lot was $250, meaning each comic was around $25 each. Now these X-Men comics are going to be the costliest part of this goal of collecting a John Byrne run. Next we've got Uncanny X-Men number 126. Now these issues are in great shape, so I'm happy to get them for the price that I did. Now this is a Dave Cockrum, Terry Austin cover, and of course John Byrne is doing the interior art. Next we have Uncanny X-Men number 125, another Dave Cockrum, Terry Austin cover. Terry Austin is such a great inker and always elevates everyone's pencils, whether it's Dave Cockrum or John Byrne. Next, we've got Uncanny X-Men number 124. Love this cover with Colossus, Cyclops, and Storm by Dave Cockrum and Terry Austin. I've read all these issues, but when I read them, it was actually in a series called Classic X-Men. So it's been a while since I've seen the actual interior of these comics, but this is a great Dave Cockrum cover. Next, we've got the Uncanny X-Men number 123, guest starring Spider-Man. Now this is a Terry Austin cover, but we have some classic John Byrne headshots right over here in the corner box. And last but not least, Uncanny X-Men number 122, one of my favorite Colossus covers by Dave Cockrum and Terry Austin. And that's my X-Men haul from eBay. But Mr. Akins, you said you bought a lot of 10 comics. And I did. But I A-okayed number 120 and number 121 to a good friend of mine, Bigly McFly, the comic guy. Let's see what Mr. McFly has to say about the comics I sent him.
If you guys don't mind, I actually have a little unboxing, which I know is X-related. Mr. Akins sent me something.
Sure.
He said, I know you. He got a run of Byrne, go figure, Byrne X-Men. And he said, I got a couple issues that you need for your run. Let's send them your way. And it was funny because he was telling me he thought that he thinks that I have a lot better collection than I actually do. I said, no, I just show all the highlights all the time. There's a lot of big holes in my collection. He wasn't kidding. He told me they were in great shape too, and he wasn't kidding. So we got X-Men 121.
Nice. Awesome.
And X-Men 120. The last issue I think go to. I think I'm pretty close to having it complete now, other than a 94 and a GSX. So, nice. I have to go back and recount. Yeah. So thank you so much, Mr. Akins. I mean, I'm not surprised because he told me which ones were coming, but they're beautiful copies. So thank you so much for sending them to me.
And there you have it, an update on my 2024 comic book collecting goals. Now, one of those goals was to upload videos regularly on the YouTube. Haven't been doing that lately. Experienced a little bit of computer issues. Hopefully that's behind us. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time around the Comic Rack.